those of you that haven't seen my bio on the website, I've spent the last 10 years delivering the agenda on leadership, talent and culture for Pret. In August last year, I left the business and set up my own consultancy where I deliver services as an executive coach and a change consultant. My business helps individuals and organisations explore change to fulfil their true potential, and I'm delighted to be hosting this webinar this afternoon. So I'd like to start with a question for you. Do you have a personal development plan right now? Wow, so we're at 50-50, perfect. Okay, so 50% of you that do, how often do you look at your PDP? Is it daily, weekly, monthly or annually? So none of us look at it daily, a few 2% weekly, about 50% monthly, and then around 20% annually. And that's really interesting because I would question what it is that motivates you to look back at your PDP. I know from my experience, the annual thing is normally when it comes to appraisal time and you sort of drag your PDP out and think, oh my goodness, how did I get on? So if you do or don't have a PDP, another question and a way to look at it is, do you have clear goals in place for your career, your life, or a mixture of both? We're pretty much on a 50-50 split again. So slightly less of you have clear goals in place. For the percentage that do, if you've got the goals in place, how confident are you that you have the right structure in place to achieve them? Vote 1 to 5, 5 being super confident, 1 being not so sure. Okay, I'm loving the person at 1% who's super confident. That's great. I look forward to hearing your questions at the end. But I think on average, we've got people that are less confident about how they're going to achieve their goals that do. So well done, guys, you're in the right place. Let me take you through the agenda sort of for the next 30 minutes. So first of all, we're going to look at what is personal development. What does it mean? How can we define it? And then what I'm going to share with you today is a really great, simple, straightforward personal development plan template. We're then going to look at goal setting. How do you set really great goals? Are they about skills? Are they about your knowledge? Or are they about your behaviours? Or in some cases, they can be a mixture of all three. I'm then going to take you through a model called 70-20-10, which helps you structure how you're going to achieve your goals. Then a little bit around how you can bring your plan to life. And at the end, we will have some time for questions and answers. But my ultimate aim is at the end, you've got a really clear action plan to help you plan the next steps of your personal development. So what is personal development? Well, one of my favourite quotes is, life begins at the end of your comfort zone. And having started my own business last August, I can certainly understand this quote from the heart. Your personal development is really down to you, and it's yours to create, own and drive forward. Not every day is Christmas, where direction, opportunities, fulfillment and joy are given to you like gifts. Your organisation may have a great development offer in place. You're on the webinar today as an example. However, unless you have a purposeful goal and a plan in place, you could be in danger of becoming something that I term a training tourist, where we turn up at a number of different events because they sound great, but we're not really clear about what difference they're going to make to us and where we want to go in life. So what is personal development in more detail? Well, Wikipedia defines it as personal development covers activities that improve awareness and identity. They develop talents and potential. They build human capital and facilitate employability, enhance the quality of life, and contribute to the realization of dreams and aspirations. Personal development takes place over the course of a person's entire life. Well, so apart from the phrase human capital, this is a great quote that highlights why continually developing is so important. The world around us is continually growing and evolving, and we need to grow and evolve too. This allows us to maintain our relevance, our objectivity, and our ability to cope with the unexpected in our careers, such as on the downside, maybe redundancy, or more positively, a promotion at work. In today's webinar, I'm going to be sharing with you the tools to help you create, own, and drive that plan forward. Let's have a look at the template then. So nice and simple, but maybe there is an element on here that you've not considered before, which is added to the way that you don't feel so confident about how to complete great PDP and achieve your goals. So you can see there, the first column is about the topic. What is the specific area that you are developing? The second one is moving towards some form of visualization. What will it enable you to do if you achieve development in this area? What will be different? And then what will it look like when you succeed? What will be the tangible outcomes? And then we move in the how. So I'll take you through the model later, but as a summary, you can see there that 10% will be formal learning, 20% will be how you're going to learn and with from others, and 70% is putting things into practice. So let's have a look at these areas in a little bit of more detail. So goal setting. So I asked you earlier about your confidence around goal setting and if you had clear goals in place. But it's important, and when I work with clients, that we look at you as a whole. So you have 3 key areas that you should consider when setting your goals, and they are based around your career, your health, and your relationships. So take a moment now and go with your gut reaction here and jot down, in 12 months' time, where would you like to be in these 3 areas? Where would you like your career? Where would you like to be with your health? And think both physical and mental. How are you? Have you managed to shift those extra mince pies from Christmas? And think about those relationships. Think about the people that you network with, both within your environment at work and outside. So where do you want to be? As a reminder, don't overthink it. You think this time in 2021, where do you want to be? Just a comment for each. And once you've done that, the next stage is to think about, well, where are you now in these 3 areas? And what I'm going to do shortly is take you through another exercise that will really help you audit and understand where you are. And the way to set the goal is then to say, well, what's the gap? What's the gap between where I am now and where I want to be in 12 months' time? Now, I've worked with people that have set 5-year, 10-year goals, but I think realistically, the way that we work in our careers and our personal development plans, 12 months is manageable. Now, as today's a bite-sized session, I'm going to focus on your career pillar. However, please do take some time away from the webinar today to consider all 3. So, questions for you. How many of you know your company values or behaviours? A simple yes or no. Fabulous. So we've got over 90% of you that know your company values and behaviours. Second question then, how often are they used as part of your development? An answer here, always, often, sometimes, never. So 20% almost with always, but it's a balance between often and sometimes. Take a moment now, just write down, because there's a high percentage of you that do know them, write down a company value or behaviour that your goal could align to, considering the exercise you've just done. Using company values can help align better to your company objectives and also provide you with a useful starting point for your own thinking. Now, those of you that aren't quite sure what your company values and behaviours are, maybe that is an action point to take away and ask about. So to assist you with where you are now, which was the second point of the goal setting piece when we looked at career, relationships and health, it can often be helpful to complete a SWOT. SWOTs tend to be used in the business world when we're looking at our finances and we're looking at our turnover, but they're really great for personal development too. Just to explain how this works, because I tend to find that some people can get caught up between the difference between strengths and opportunities. So your strengths and weaknesses are where you are right now. So up until 12/14 on the 5th of February, where are you now? What is working for you? What are those strengths? And what are those weaknesses? Now, as a development professional, weaknesses is not one of my favourite words. I truly believe that people have areas to develop, but that wouldn't work as part of this model. So I apologise that the language is in there, but let's keep it simple for today. So strengths and weaknesses are right up to this moment right now. The opportunities and threats are then the summary of what the future will look like, depending on what you've put in your columns for strengths and weaknesses. So just take a moment now and see what comes to mind. So where are your strengths and where are your weaknesses in your career right now? And then start to think about, once you've identified those strengths and weaknesses, what opportunities could that create for you? But also, what are the threats if you don't take any action from today forward? Well, what could be the consequences of that? Let me share an example with you that might help. So this is, oh, okay, I'll admit it, a little bit of me, but I've tried to keep it quite generic. And also you will see on here, I stayed away from using figures and metrics. It may well be that you want to add those into your development. After all, it is your development plan. But the strengths here, so report writing, presenting at meetings, facilitating difficult conversations. And if you struggle to sort of highlight your strengths because you don't like talking about yourself, which I understand, think about the feedback you've had. Think about the feedback you've generated over your careers. What has come out as something that you are famed for, that you are great at? And then let's look at those areas for development, or in this model, weaknesses. Planning ahead, not planning for what could go wrong in projects, hitting deadlines without stress, and really understanding detailed reports. Now, if we look at what that's created for our future, so the opportunities, I could lead more well-being initiatives and pioneer a specific objective because I'm passionate about it. I could chair meetings and lead on a project. But what are those threats? Well, you know, if I don't get ahead with my planning capabilities, I could lose credibility because I'm not delivered on time. I could miss an essential piece of data leading to the issues above. Or I can become stressed because I'm working longer hours and I'm trying to keep ahead. So really use this tool to go back to where you are right now and then where you want to be in the future. And that should help inform your personal development plan. Let's have a look then of how this could feed into my PDP. So my SWOT has thrown out that planning projects is probably a great development area for me to concentrate on because now I know what threats are in place. And thinking about what this will enable me to do, well, you know, if I get a handle on that, I'll be able to deliver work on time, I'll be able to prioritise, and I'll be able to make timely communication with my stakeholders. And what will it look like when I succeed? Well, I can work less overtime, my peers will trust in my organisational skills rather than checking up on me every 5 minutes, and I'll feel more confident in my ability to deliver quality work. Now, again, in your own examples, you may want to put some metrics in here. There may be some figures. So if you are working a 60-hour week, you know, you want to reduce that down to working 48 hours and then think about, well, what would I do with that extra 12 hours that I can't do at the moment because of the overtime? You know, do I want to play my sport? And as I said earlier, that will then influence your health part of your goal setting because you are a whole person. Just take a moment now to think about, in your development offer that you have in your workplace, what could you do and what could you prioritise in order to identify that development topic? Okay, so let's now look at the 70-20-10 model, which is the remaining part of the PDP template. So we started to use this model in my previous organisation around 3 years ago. We identified that our people were expecting the L&D team to develop them and take full accountability for their growth. However, if the individual doesn't put into practice what they've learned on their learning events, then the learning doesn't become embedded. And therefore, return on investment for the business becomes negligible, and also the individuals aren't growing at the rate that they wish. I'm sure that most of you have attended learning events in the past that you haven't truly made the most of. We all do it. So this is a process to help you not only identify what you need to learn, but also helps you plan how you will embed your new skills, knowledge, and or behaviours, so they become part of your life DNA. It will ensure that you don't become the training tourist that I talked about earlier. The model was developed by Lombardo and Etchinger in their work, The Career Architect Development Planner, and there's further reading on this. You can look on Amazon for their books, but also there's stuff on Google too. But their research showed that only 10% of how we learn is through formal learning. So this could be a course, online, or a classroom, a book, a seminar, or indeed a webinar as today. 20% is where we learn with and from others. So this could be through feedback, coaching, mentoring, a work buddy, or in your one-to-ones with your manager. The largest part, 70%, is when we put things into practice, noticing things that go well and things that don't go so well and reflecting on progress. So as an example, think about how we learn to drive in the UK. 10% comes from reading the highway code and taking the online test. But we couldn't pass the physical test just by those two things alone. 20% comes from learning with an instructor, being given encouragement, guidance, feedback. But ultimately, if something goes wrong, the instructor can take over the controls and guide us to safety. 70% comes from practice and confidence by putting the education and guidance into action and reflecting on what has gone well and what you want to continue developing. Such as in this example, driving at night time, long distance driving, as normal lessons are about an hour long, or it could be driving on busy stretches of road or in another country. So let's have a look how that could play out in the template. So let's have a look now. So in order to help with the planning project, 10% of my formal learning could be I could watch an online tutorial on project management, or I could look at external courses in Prince 2. The 20% could be I could ask somebody within my organisation for mentorship on how they plan their projects, because that's a real strength and you really admire their skill set. And I could ask for feedback from current stakeholders and their thoughts on my project management. The 70% could be that I'm going to build my own project plan template and share with my manager to get feedback. I could audit at the end of the month where this has saved me time, and I could adjust the project plan in line with the progress made. So bringing your plan to life. So I've shared with you quite a lot of content today, and it was bite-sized, but there are some really great tools in there that I know really work from my experience of developing people. Take your time to complete your plan, and remember, who you are tomorrow begins with what you do today. So what's next? One thing you can do to help with your further development is to sign up for our Growth Masterclass that I'll be hosting in March. So you'll get to meet me in person. Please book yourself on one of those. And if you want to learn more about this topic, please take a look at the article, Building Learning into Your Life, and a link will be sent out with the recording to this webinar next week. Thank you for listening, and I'd like to wish you all good luck with building your perfect personal development plan.